Hey everyone, we're here with Josh Kirby today. Josh came first in today's regionals. What were you playing today, Josh?
I played Kashtira.
Alright, any shoutouts you want to give?
Shout out Shifter, shout out Ali, shout out Jeremy Tebow, he's the GOAT, shout out Deadly B7, and shout out all the Halifax boys.
Alright, let's get into it.
Alright, so it's a pretty basic list. Like, this is standard for most cash lists. 3 Unicorn, 3 Fenrir, 3 Rise, and Scareclaw. That's all I played for this Kashtira monsters. Didn't play Ogre, didn't play Prep. Those cards just aren't worth the space in the deck. They don't do enough, they're bricky. Hand traps, 3 Shifter. This card's something else. 3 Ash, 3 Baylor, 2 Mourner, 3 Imperm. So the 14 hand traps, and then the only other 2 non-engine cards I played was 2 Talents, but these are just the most generic hand traps against all the Snake Eye decks. I side a few other hand traps depending on the matchup, but those all pair fairly well with each other into like all the meta decks. 4 Planet, 3 Planet and a Terraforming, 3 Birth, 2 Theosis. I was playing 3, but I ended up cutting the 3rd because I wanted to play more pot cards. I was playing Desires at 3 and 1 of this. I like this card a lot more, especially in this like Heat Soul build where if you draw this with your Heat Soul combo, it's a lot worse. This card also just is insane. It draws 2. The only thing you're worried about banishing in this deck is these, like a copy of these. But again, this card draws you a lot. This deck isn't good enough to win a lot of games versus Snake Eye decks without drawing non-engine. So this card gets you into more non-engine or more engine. It's just a really good card. This card's also good. Like, you can sequence them too. Like, if you draw multiples, you can play this. If it gets negated, you can still use this card. Like, it's not completely dead if you draw multiples, but you need to draw playable. Cash has a problem where you just brick way too many games if you don't play these cards. So I ended up cutting the 3rd of this just to fit another one of these in. And I think it was good. It helped me not brick, and I didn't brick at all today. So that's probably why I did well. And then the 2 Talents I mentioned earlier. This card's just really good going first, pretty shit going second. I want to have it in my list somewhere, and it just ended up making the cut into my main over the cards I played in my side. That's it for the main. For the extra deck, again, it's pretty generic. I do the 3-link spiders. The 3rd's mostly just because people have seen that Appaloosa gets played in this deck a lot more. People will nib you a lot earlier, and if you get nibbed earlier, you can use the token, and you can use the summon back off Birth and like a Scareclaw to still end on like SP Fenrir through a nib. But if you don't play this, then you just have a shitty token that you can't make SP with. So I think it's worth the slot, especially because your extra deck's not insanely tight in this deck. G-Golem, SP, Heat Soul, Appaloosa. Didn't play the access code. I found it didn't come up as much as the 3rd one of this. That's the only difference from like the standard package that everyone's playing. Appaloosa is really good. It's really good into a lot of matchups, like against like Lab randomly. This card's insane. Voiceless, this card's really insane. Like, this card can like solo like the Flunder and the Voiceless decks like by itself. So I think it's worth playing. The Baron to make with the hand traps. Draco Sack, Shang, Dark Armed. This card I was like fringe playing, didn't make it at all. It's definitely cuttable, but ended up playing it today. Big Eye, Typhon, Zeus. Again, a lot of these cards you make them very infrequently, but when they come up, they can matter. And I'm happy with the extra deck for this. For hand traps, played Droll mostly for the Flunder matchup because I have a lot of hand traps like Shifter and Mourner that are dead, so I needed something to be able to replace in that matchup. So this is really good first and second, and Flunder plays into your board pretty well because they all play like evenlies and thrusts and a lot of board breakers, whereas this card can just beat them regardless what your board is. 3 Mourner, again, mostly for Voiceless and for Lab. Wanted to have these in the list to replace the hand traps that aren't good in those matchups. The 3rd Mourner for the Snake Eye matchup. I only played 2 in the main, so that's the 3rd one. And then I only had 2 other like non-engine type slots, and I ended up wanting to do the Cosmics because, again, mostly into Flunder, I have to side out 5 cards between the 2 Mourners and the Shifters, so I wanted to have something that's like cards that are good going first and second into that matchup, so I went with this. It also has the overlap versus Lab as well, so I was pretty happy with that. And then the last things I played was 6 Traps. This card covers a lot of Cash's really bad matchups, like stuff like Hurley and Sprite, like the decks that can like play into your weak boards really well, this card's really good into. And you just have a lot of auto wins. You draw more cards with this because you're playing the Heat Soul stuff. You're playing a lot of pot cards, so you have like a fairly good chance to see these cards. And then this is mostly just for like the Snake Eye deck and like tier and weird shit like that. Yeah, that's the list.
Great, thank you, Josh. Congratulations on your top.
Thank you, sir.
Go!
Take care.